Hi, welcome back to the Scent Advocate. Tonight we're talking about fragrances from my collection that surprise me. They surprised me initially and continue to surprise me today. Some of them are familiar faces, some maybe not so much, but they all added something unexpected. Now you'll want to stick around because about halfway through the video, I'm going to talk about one that surprises me in a bad way. It leaves me a little bit disappointed and I'm not quite sure what to do about it. And I'm hoping some of you can help me by making suggestions in the comments. So stick around. The beverage for this evening is Genmaicha tea. Let's get started. The first fragrance that surprised me is Creed's Sublime Vanille. And what about this bottle? I absolutely love it. Look, it's got the etched glass and the etching is gold. I love it. And it's got this little beautiful metal medallion. And on the front, it's got, the little emblem there, and then on the back it's got some I don't know, I can't read it. I wear glasses. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but I do. Oh, gilded with 10-carat fine gold. How about that? Maybe that's why it's so expensive. Okay, disappointingly, the top is not as beautiful. The cap is kind of a plastic. I feel like this piece in here is metal, but this part around it is plastic. So I feel as if they've upgraded their caps over the years, but this one was definitely not so great. All right, I'm looking for my here we go. So what surprised me about this fragrance? Well, the notes. So in here we've got lemon, bergamot, vanilla, jasmine, tonka beans, and musk. The surprise was that this is a vanilla, right? It's called Sublime Vanille, with a wonderful lemon feel to it, or citrus feel to it. The expectation was a classic vanilla, the likes of Guerlain or Celine or some of the other, really beautiful, exclusively vanilla fragrances. This one is unapologetically citrus, especially at the opening. And I thought at first, I don't like this. And then I went back and back and back, and I just found myself constantly returning to the Creed counter and sampling it. And so finally, the essay there said, I think you like this. I was like, no, I'm not sure, and for this price point, I got to be sure. And she didn't push. And I went back the next time and I got it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I recognized that it's a unique expression for me of vanilla. The opening is much brighter and more citrus forward than the dry down. The dry down is more of that beautiful classic Tahitian vanilla, not sweet. And the lemon and bergamot in the opening are also not sweet. This is no lemon tart or lemon meringue pie or lemon cookie. This is absolutely not a sweet expression of citrus or vanilla. It is very, very refined. It smells expensive, and I gotta say, is it worth $640 for 75 ml? Maybe. I mean, if vanilla means a lot to you and you want something different among the really high quality vanillas, this feels really nice, I gotta say. Is any fragrance worth $640? That's up for debate. I will say, in my own defense, it was a special occasion. It was a gift to myself. Once in a while, I like to do that, and this was it. You can see I've made a huge dent. Obviously, the quality being as high as I feel it is, I get a lot of bang for my buck with this. A little goes a long way. This is a powerhouse. So 1 or 2 sprays will get you through the day for sure. And a compliment getter, definitely. But I just love it. It makes me feel very confident, sophisticated, energized, and feminine. Beautiful stuff. Sublime Vanille. Surprised because I did not expect the citrus, and it works so beautifully. Okay, moving on. Next surprise. This one was fun. Glossier You. Yes, this was a discovery I made with my little bunny, Jackie. We went into Sephora. And I'm looking at this, and I'd heard so much about it, and I was like, you know, have you ever tried that? And she says, yeah, of course, you know, who hasn't? And I said, well, I haven't. And I said, you know, do you think I'd like it? I'm always trying to get her to, you know, converse with me about things. I think it's because I work and I feel really like I want to seize every moment to bond with her. And so I'm always seeking her advice for things. She's so cute. And she told me, yeah, I think you'll like it. And I thought, you know, and so eventually I sprayed it on a test strip, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I have to have it. I really didn't expect to like it. I thought it was going to be juvenile. I thought it was going to be maybe a little less sophisticated than it actually presents to me. But I was wrong. I absolutely fell in love with it. And I gotta say, I have 3 full bottles of Glossier You, 3 different, well, the original here and 2 flankers. And then I have actually a 3rd flanker in a travel size. It's not a full bottle. I'm still testing it, but really loved it. So this is a 50 ml EDP. It is a 2017 release, and I paid about $82 for it. The noses behind this are Dora Bagriche. I think that's how you pronounce it. My apologies if I got it wrong. And Frank Vocal. The notes are pretty simple: iris, pink pepper, ambroxan, and ambrette. And it is lovely. It is a very easy reach, very ambrette forward, which I love. To me, ambrette does not smell like musk. To me, ambrette smells like ambrette. I get it, and when I smell it in a fragrance, usually it's very easy for me to distinguish between, you know, ambrette and other musks, whether it is, you know, an actual animal-based musk or a chemical recomposition of an animal-based musk, which I think is the case almost always these days. But I really love it for exactly what it is. This to me does not smell like a musk. It smells like an ambrette. The idea behind it is your skin but better, clean, fresh, you know, just stepped out of the shower type thing. And it is, I think, universally likable. If you don't like it, you got to let me know in the comments, because it's hard for me to believe anyone doesn't like it. But hey, well, you know, different strokes for different folks. So I think it's pretty universally pleasing. If you wanted to get someone a fragrance and you weren't sure, it's hard for me to imagine this wouldn't go over well. I think your biggest challenge would be that the person already has it in their collection. So beautiful stuff, Glossier You. The original, I did not expect to like it. I thought it was going to be a little too youthful for me, and I don't think so. I think it's perfect for anyone. Very much a surprise. Moving on. I've got, oh yes, Black Lacquer by Tom Ford. Okay. When I first smelled this, I was confused. It was, I think I smelled it in store and I just, I don't know. It's possible I smelled what I thought was this and it turned out to be something else. I'm not 100% sure how it happened. But the first time I smelled it, I thought, I've smelled this before. This smells like, you know, something I already have in my collection. It's fine, but I just, no. And I couldn't place what it was. Then I thought it reminded me maybe of Effing Fabulous. But my mother, I bought her a bottle of Effing Fabulous years ago, and I was so excited to try it. I'd heard so many wonderful things about it, and to me, it smells like marijuana and rubber. Like if you took like skunky marijuana and rubber and you know, just combined the two, if those things had a baby, it would be that fragrance. I am the only one who gets that. I am positive of it. So definitely feel free to let me know in the comments that, you know, you get something completely different. And I have to say, on my mother, it smells amazing, just beautiful. But for some reason, my nose, I just can't. It smells terrible to me and on me. But on anybody else, it smells amazing. I can't tell you how many times I've smelled someone and I think to myself, wow, what is that? And I'll ask, and it's Effing Fabulous. I'm just like, what is wrong with me? Anyway, I thought it was going to be, maybe it's the color of the bottle. Obviously the label is a different color, but I thought for sure, you know, it was going to be something like that. And ultimately I tried it again about a year ago, maybe a little less. And I thought, what in the heck is going on here? This is amazing. It's nothing like what I thought, even though I tested it twice. Anyway, this is Tom Ford's Black Lacquer. The nose behind this is Guillaume Flavigny. This is a 50 ml EDP. It is a 2024 release and it goes for $265. The notes in this are ink, vinyl, black pepper, rum, ebony wood, elemi, apricot, peony, and olibanum. This is boozy. This is spicy. But the black pepper is a sweet, floral, fruity black pepper. It's not a sneezy black pepper. It's not a dry black pepper. There's a woody note. Yes, the resins are there, beautiful, a little bit, it's not quite smoky, but it smells like resins that could be burned, right? For the sake of their gorgeous smoky scent. Incensey, okay? The peony, I can't really detect that. Ink, no, I don't get ink. Does it mean it's not in there? No, you know, but I don't get it. Vinyl, no. There's I get a resinous wood and not a vinyl. And that's happened to me before in other fragrances that are supposed to have a plastic or vinyl or rubber note to them. I get resinous wood, except for Effing Fabulous. And I don't know what the notes are supposed to be in that, but I know it smells like rubber to me. This does not. This is a dark, beautiful, rich, masculine-leaning fragrance. And what surprises me most about it is my testing experience was all over the place. And then when I smelled it that third time, I bought it on the spot. I absolutely adored it, had to have it. So glad I did. Black Lacquer by Tom Ford. Moving on, we've got, let's do the one that disappointed me, shall we? Because it makes me a little bit sad. It is Coco by Chanel. This is a very important memory in my life. I wore this a lot as a teenager because being Gen X, that's what we did. We wore very mature smelling fragrances, probably because we wore whatever our mothers had, or our grandmothers or aunts or whomever, and they were beautiful. And the thing back then was to be mature as early as you possibly could. So it kind of fits the culture of the generation, at least in my lived experience. The nose behind this is Jacques Polge. This is an EDP. Obviously, it's a 1984 release. This is 100 ml, and I paid about $200 for it. The notes in this are rose, coriander, peach, jasmine. There's quite a lot going on. Cloves, clover, sandalwood, opopanax, tonka, civet, vanilla, labdanum, orange. So what's a surprise? The surprise is that this is almost completely unfamiliar to me, even though I wore it for years. Now, the years that I wore it, I probably wore an eau de toilette in a bottle that was taller. And this is not the same. When I spray this, I get the slightest hint. I can almost tell what it's supposed to be, but it's not the same. At least I'm not detecting it as the same. I've talked in other videos about reformulations, and I don't know if this has been reformulated. I say that in every video. I just don't know for sure. And I could be completely wrong if I say that this has been reformulated, but this does smell significantly different to me. It smells not nearly as rich, very, very flat, hollow, you know, all of those descriptors you hear about fragrances that have changed over the years. I want to love this so much because for me, fragrance is more than water or alcohol or liquid that smells a certain way. It's a trip back in time to somewhere I've been before. It's transporting, it's magical. And I wanted that from this. And I'm just not getting it. And I have to tell you, if you watch the channel, you'll know that once I bought a vintage fragrance and I was very deeply disappointed because it did not smell like I expected. And this fragrance, I definitely spent some money on it, and it was supposed to be vintage. And I know it had to be because at least I believe it was authentic. All indicators were that it was authentic. And they haven't made it for decades. So it had to be vintage, you know. I bought it from a reputable dealer, all of that. And so I came on and made a video about it, and some of you told me the thing to do was spray it a couple times, leave it alone for a few days or a week or two, and then go back and try again. And I did. And it worked like magic. And I was so happy. And I came back and I did a follow-up video explaining what an amazing experience that was to smell that fragrance again. And I think this, it may not be possible because this is not a vintage bottle. I bought this a couple of years ago because I always want to have certain fragrances in my collection. And for many years, I didn't have this. And when I got it, I was expecting that experience. And I know you can't turn back the hands of time, but for a little bit, when we smell a fragrance, I feel like for me, I can. And it's wonderful. And I can't get there with this. So what do you think? Do you think I mean, it's probably macerated enough. I don't know if I believe in maceration or what. I've sprayed it many times to try and get that, you know, that same effect that I got with the vintage I just described. I keep it in, I have it lit up in here because I'm filming, but this is usually a dark room that I keep, on the cool side. I've always taken excellent care of the fragrances, and it's not turned bad or anything. It just doesn't smell the same. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's a concentration thing. It's hard for me to believe that the EDT that I had years ago was so much stronger, so much richer. But maybe that's the case. So I'd love it if you guys could give me your thoughts and help me figure out what in the heck is going on with this wonderful, well, it used to be wonderful to me, fragrance, Coco by Chanel. All right, on to something more positive. Newer fragrance to my collection. Lo and behold, I got my first Frederic Malle. Here it is. En Passant. So this is from Olivier Jacobetti. This is a 100 ml EDP. This is a 2000 release, and it goes for about $400. I found it less expensively, but anyway, what surprised me about this was I got a sample of it by accident. I didn't mean to order a sample of this. I think I was trying to get a sample of a different Frederic Malle. But I got this and I was like, well, what the heck? I smelled it and I absolutely loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Used up the whole sample and I was just nuts for it. So I found a bottle that was a little bit on sale, I guess, a little bit lower in price than usual retail. Or maybe I had points somewhere or something and I ended up getting it. And I thought, what is going on with this? What are the notes? And I'll be darned, could not believe the notes. Lilac and cucumber. Lilac, cucumber, white musk, and cedar. That's it. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's what's going on. This actually struck me as a little bit carby, like a little bit wheat-like. Like a flower note. Flower is in not like lilac flour, but Flour, baking flour. A little bit of that. And now I definitely smell the lilac and definitely the cucumber. It's so beautiful. And I think what's going on is the musk is ambrette, and ambrette can sometimes come across to me as a little bit carby. And so that has to be it. But what a lovely, lovely fragrance. And I'll tell you, if I had read the notes, I love lilac, but I love real lilacs. Like I have a bunch of lilac bushes here on the property, and I adore them. One of the best flowers out there. But I never was inclined to get a fragrance that smelled like lilacs because they always fell short to me. And this one is not a classic lilac scent, although in many ways it is. It's hard to, wow, this is so great. And I'm still surprised by the fact that I accidentally got a lilac fragrance that is so beautiful, so wearable, such a lovely, casual, yet refined, easy reach. This makes me think of, oh gosh, just the English countryside, maybe 200 years ago. And just fragrant pastures with beautiful, beautiful lilac bushes around, and maybe a pie baking in the distance somewhere, in some cottage. Oh, it's so beautiful. And I think, perfect for spring. I think this does lean a little feminine, but who cares? This is just very light, and I can't imagine anyone not liking this beautiful stuff. And what surprised me were the notes. Incredible. I didn't get lilac and cucumber from it. Love it. Frederic Malle, en passant. All right, moving on. Ooh, this one is fun. Got a story for you with this one. Tabu. Oh, yes. By Dana. This is a vintage bottle from, I think, the late 80s, potentially early 90s. The reason this surprised me is because when I was growing up, Tabu was popular, right? I mean, this was released in 1932 originally. And by the way, this is an eau de cologne. It's 75 mil, and I paid about $200 for it. The nose behind this is Jean Carl's. This fragrance was often described in a way that described by the wearer. And the wearer was said to be a woman who was very free with her affections. Not free as in free of charge. I think you know where I'm going. That is the legend behind this fragrance. It was created for that kind of woman. And therefore, it had something of a sassy, bad reputation. And it was still, wildly popular. You always saw ads for Tabu in magazines. Those were these thin booklet type things we used to buy that had like fashion in them. I'm just kidding. I'm sure most of you know what a magazine is, but I find myself describing things like that to my child, who still can't believe that from time to time I'll buy one and read it. Anyway, this was a popular fragrance, and Dana put out other fragrances when I was young that appealed to more of the younger demographic, and I had those, and those were fine, but this one was different. So lo and behold, I grow up and I get into fragrances, and I'm in a perfume store and I see Tabu, and I thought, I wonder what that's like. And I remembered, the reputation. So I asked if I could smell it. They had a sample open, I smelled it, and I really liked it. So I went back home and I researched it, and I noticed that a lot of the notes in the fragrance were similar to the notes in other fragrances that I really loved. And those notes are orange, coriander, spices, ylang ylang, civet, benzoin, sandalwood, patchouli, musk, oak moss, vetiver, cedar, and many more. But it struck me as unusual that I'd never smelled this before that day, and I was surprised at how much I loved it. So I got a sample of a vintage version because I suspected that might explain why, this was almost verboten when I was a kid. Maybe it smelled remarkably different. Well, it did, but it was just richer. Probably because it was an older bottle that the sample came from. But I fell in love, and I found this from a wonderful dealer, and I got to tell you, this still shocks me how gorgeous it is. If you love Youth Dew by Estee Lauder, if you love Femme Rochas, this is in the same family, but I think softer, prettier. It's just as rich, and not the more recent releases, assuming, of course, there have been reformulations. I never know for sure, but to me, my more recent purchase, or my purchase of a recently released bottle of Youth Dew, is very, very different from a vintage bottle that I got from, 30 years ago. This smells like the 30-year-ago bottle. It doesn't smell like it. I don't mean that. It smells like it's in the same family. Very, very different fragrances, but that rich, dark, really complex Oh, so gorgeous. This is divine. And I must say, nothing whatsoever cheap about it. This is stunning. It's one of those fragrances you never want to stop smelling. Now, how much of that is attributable to the fact that this is a very old bottle? I don't know. But it's an eau de cologne. Look at that. Can you see how dark the juice is on that? That's something else. This is no joke. Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. And I can't believe I didn't know it before a few months ago. Tabu by Dana. All right. I am way over time. Why don't I skip a couple and get down to one that I'm going to have to make a part 2 to this. You guys let me know if you want me to. Okay. The last fragrance that surprised me is Cabochard by Gres. This is a bottle I bought retail about a year ago. This, by the way, is an eau de parfum. This is 100 ml. I paid a whopping $15 for it. And this is a 1959 original release. But this is not a 1959 bottle. This is a bottle that, was probably, I don't know, was created in the last couple of years. The nose behind this is Bernard Champ. The notes in this: aldehyde, sage, spices, tarragon, geranium orris. There's a ton of notes: tobacco, patchouli, ylang ylang, leather, oak moss, amber, coconut. This is beautiful. It's a sheep. It's exquisite. It is so lovely. It is very, very much unchanged for me over the years. My mother used to wear this. My grandmother used to wear this. Everyone used to wear this. And so I have wonderful scent memories from this. But I got curious and I said, how similar is it to the original Cabochard? So I got myself a bottle from the 80s. Here it is. Woohoo! And the truth is I tested it first. I got some decants and I adored the decants. So I went full bottle. Now, let me see. Do I have it? Is this here? Because I did do a decant. Is that right? That's not it. Okay, stay tuned because this has a thing, like a plastic cap in there to preserve its. Okay. Now, I am very careful with this not to contaminate it, so I'm just kind of doing this. I don't like to touch it. And I can tell you, without question, that this version smells just as good as this one. Just as rich, just as wonderful. This is definitely the same as this is what surprised me is the fact that if this is reformulated, wow, did they knock it out of the park. You can't tell, in my opinion. You can't tell. And by the way, this is an EDT, which I think I've made clear with respect to, some other fragrances in my collection. That doesn't necessarily matter because older EDTs or EDCs were much, much stronger than today's versions of those concentrations. And this is a stunner, an absolute stunner. but this is too. This is just a knockout. And so if you love Cabochard and you are, you know, potentially considering a vintage bottle, which can be pricey, try this first. See if it scratches the itch. For me, it does. Just fabulous job. Fabulous. And again, I'm not saying it's been reformulated. Maybe it hasn't been, and maybe that's why it's so great. But if they reformulated it, they got it right, let me tell you. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for tonight. I'm in heaven, you guys. Do you ever do this? You ever just like go into your closet, your shelves, and just take it all in? I'm loving it. Okay, let me know what you think about these surprising fragrances from my collection. Do you agree that they're surprising for the reasons that I shared? Do you want to see a part 2? Because I could probably do about 3 for this. Sorry I couldn't get any further, but I figure at this point there's only maybe 1 or 2 of you left still watching, so I'm gonna cut my losses. Thank you for sticking around if you did. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a like. And if you're not yet a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.